Help me!" The scream cut through the night as 17-year-old Jamal Williams saw the BMW crash and burst into flames on the overpass ahead. A man was trapped inside, burning alive. Everyone else stood back, called 911, waited for heroes to arrive. Not Jamal. He sprinted straight into the fire without thinking about his grandmother's insulin money in his pocket. Without thinking about missing work tomorrow. He just saw someone who needed help. 30 seconds later, Jamal dragged the unconscious man from the wreckage. The car exploded behind them in a ball of flame that lit up the entire highway. What happened the next day didn't just change Jamal's life forever. It changed his entire community. And it all started with one choice to help a stranger. But who was this man really? And why would saving him turn everything upside down? 24 hours earlier, Jamal Williams had exactly $127 to his name. Rent was due in 3 days. He counted the crumpled bills again in the dim light of their one-bedroom apartment. Rosa, his grandmother, sat in her worn armchair, testing her blood sugar with shaking hands. The meter beeped. Too high. Again. "We need to get your insulin today, Grandma," Jamal said quietly. Rosa looked up with tired eyes. At 68, she'd raised him since he was 8 years old after his parents died in a car accident. She used to clean office buildings downtown for 40 years until diabetes made her too weak to work. "Baby, you know that prescription costs $340, she whispered. "We don't have it." Jamal stared at the $20 bills in his hand. Not even close. This was their reality, every single day. 5 a.m. came too early, but Jamal's alarm never got the chance to ring. He was already awake, checking Rosa's blood sugar before she stirred. The numbers on the glucose meter told a story he didn't want to read. He kissed her forehead and stepped into the cold hallway. 45 minutes of walking lay ahead of him. They couldn't afford bus fare, and their electricity had been cut off last month. But Jamal Williams had never missed a day of school. East Cleveland High wasn't much to look at, but it was his chance. 3.7 GPA, top 10% of his class. His calculus teacher, Mr. Rodriguez, kept telling him he was brilliant. "You could be an engineer, Jamal. You could build bridges, design buildings." Could. If he could afford college applications, if he could pay for SAT prep, if his grandmother's medical bills didn't eat every dollar he earned. But Jamal Williams was a dreamer. His bedroom walls were covered with sketches of bridge designs, building blueprints he'd drawn from memory, mathematical equations that solved problems he'd invented. Late at night, after homework finished by flashlight, he'd designed structures that could withstand earthquakes, buildings that used less energy, bridges that lasted forever. "Education is the one thing they can't take from you," Rosa always said. She'd repeated those words every day since his parents died. Even when the lights got shut off, even when they ate soup for dinner 3 nights in a row. The walk to school gave Jamal time to think. Ohio State University had sent him an acceptance letter 2 weeks ago. Full academic scholarship available, they said, for students who qualified for financial aid. The application fee? $85. He'd been saving for 3 months, had $63 set aside. But yesterday, Rosa ran out of her blood pressure medication. $28 at the pharmacy. There went his college dreams, $28 at a time. School ended at 3:15. Jamal had exactly 12 minutes to get to Romano's Italian restaurant for his dishwashing shift. Chef Marco understood his situation and let him take home leftover soup sometimes. Good people still exist in the world. 4 hours of washing dishes, hot water, steam, the constant clatter of plates and silverware. His hands would be red and raw by closing time, but $26 in tips would be waiting. Every dollar mattered. At 7:30 p.m., Jamal clocked out and walked to Gentry's grocery for his weekend bagging job. Mrs. Patterson, his guidance counselor, had helped him get it. 3 hours of helping customers load their cars, collecting shopping carts from the parking lot. 18 more dollars. $44 total for the day. But Rosa's insulin prescription sat waiting at the pharmacy. $340. He could work every day for 2 weeks and still come up short. Saturday mornings meant handyman work around the neighborhood. Mrs. Rodriguez's washing machine had been making strange noises. Mr. Jackson's kitchen faucet dripped constantly. The Thompson family's refrigerator wasn't cooling properly. Jamal fixed them all for free. "Baby, you can't keep doing work for nothing," Rosa would tell him. But these were his neighbors, his community. Mrs. Rodriguez had watched him grow up. Mr. Jackson had driven him to the hospital when Rosa had her first diabetic episode. The Thompsons always asked about his grades and told him they were proud of him. "How do you charge your family?" Sunday evenings were the hardest. Homework spread across their small kitchen table, Rosa's medical bills stacked in one corner, college brochures in another. The math never worked out. No matter how many hours he worked, how many jobs he took, the numbers never added up. But Jamal Williams wasn't bitter. "You keep doing right and the universe keeps score," Rosa had taught him. She'd learned that lesson cleaning offices for 40 years, watching wealthy executives leave their messes for someone else to clean up. Still, she believed goodness mattered. Still, she believed hard work would be rewarded. Still, she believed her grandson would find a way. That Monday morning, Jamal walked to the pharmacy before school. Sarah, the tech who'd known them for years, gave him a sad smile. "I'm sorry, honey. Corporate says we can't hold prescriptions longer than 72 hours without payment." Rosa's insulin, the medication that kept her alive, gone. Jamal emptied his tips jar on the counter, $127 in small bills. Sarah counted them twice, hoping the math would change. "It's not enough," she whispered. "But I'll hold it until tomorrow. One more day, that's all I can do." One more day to find $213. Walking to school that morning, Jamal felt the weight of impossible mathematics. But he also felt something else. Determination. Rosa had raised him to believe that good people don't give up. They find a way. Tonight, after his dishwashing shift at Romano's, Jamal Williams would walk home through the rain, thinking about insulin money and college applications and the bridge designs on his bedroom wall. He had no idea that before the night was over, everything would change. The storm that night was the worst Cleveland had seen in years, but Jamal had to get home. October rain hammered the city like bullets against concrete. Wind howled through the empty streets, bending traffic lights and sending trash cans tumbling down sidewalks. The temperature had dropped 15 degrees in 2 hours. At 10:47 p.m., Jamal finished his dishwashing shift at Romano's Italian restaurant. His hands were raw from hot water and harsh soap, but Chef Marco had good news waiting. "Take this home to your grandmother," Marco said, handing him a container of leftover minestrone soup. "And here." He pressed a $20 bill into Jamal's palm. "Extra tip from table 12. They heard about what you do for the neighborhood." Jamal's throat tightened. "Chef, I can't." "You can and you will." Marco's weathered face softened. "Good people deserve good things, kid. Drive you home tonight?" Jamal shook his head. Marco had already done enough. The soup alone would feed them for 2 days. "Thanks, but I'm good. See you tomorrow." He stepped into the storm. The bus had stopped running an hour ago. 45 minutes of walking lay ahead through neighborhoods that weren't safe after dark. But Rosa needed her evening medication at 11:30 p.m. sharp. Dr. Martinez had been very clear about the timing. Jamal pulled his thin jacket tighter and started walking. The rain soaked through his clothes within minutes. His sneakers squelched with every step, water seeping through the worn soles. But he kept moving. Rosa was waiting. As he crossed the Riverside Avenue overpass, visibility dropped to almost nothing. Rain pounded the asphalt so hard it bounced back up like tiny geysers. Streetlights flickered through the downpour, casting eerie shadows on the empty highway below. Jamal thought about the pharmacy, about Sarah's sad smile, about the insulin prescription they couldn't afford. Tomorrow, he'd have to tell Rosa they were out of options, unless he could find a miracle. He thought about the Ohio State application deadline, next week, $85 he didn't have for a future he couldn't afford. He thought about the bridge designs on his bedroom wall, dreams drawn in pencil that would probably stay dreams forever. The sound hit him before he saw anything. Screech of brakes, skidding tires on wet asphalt, then the sickening crunch of metal hitting concrete. 50 yards ahead, brake lights spun through the rain like red fireworks. A black BMW had hydroplaned on the slick road, clipped the guardrail, and flipped onto its side. The car was sliding sideways toward the edge of the overpass. Sparks flew as metal scraped against concrete. Then Jamal saw the flames. Orange fire licked up from the engine compartment, growing larger by the second. Smoke poured through the shattered windshield. The smell of gasoline filled the air. Someone was trapped inside. Through the spider-webbed glass, Jamal could see him, an older white man in an expensive suit, hanging upside down from his seatbelt. Blood trickled from his forehead. His eyes were open, wide with terror. Their eyes met through the rain and smoke. "Help me!" The man's voice cut through the storm. Two other cars had stopped, a red Honda and a white pickup truck. Their drivers stood beside their vehicles, phones pressed to their ears, shouting into 911 dispatchers. But they kept their distance from the burning car. Smart people, safe people. "Kid, get back!" The pickup truck driver yelled at Jamal. "That thing's gonna blow!" The man was right. The flames were spreading along the engine compartment. The smell of gasoline was getting stronger. In the movies, cars exploded when they caught fire. This wasn't a movie. Jamal pulled out his cracked phone. 1 bar of battery left. He dialed 911. "Emergency services are responding to multiple weather-related accidents," the operator said. Her voice sounded exhausted. "Current ETA for your location is 15 to 20 minutes. 15 minutes. The flames were already reaching the interior of the car. The trapped man was coughing from smoke inhalation. His eyes found Jamal's again, desperate and pleading. 15 minutes was too long. Jamal looked at the burning BMW, at the man trapped inside, at the other drivers keeping their safe distance. He thought about Rosa waiting at home for her medication, about how much she needed him, about what would happen to her if something happened to him tonight. He thought about the insulin money in his pocket. $127. Not enough to save his grandmother, but enough to matter. He thought about the bridge designs on his wall, the engineering problems he solved late at night, the physics equations that explained how structures held together under pressure. Sometimes structures failed, sometimes they held, sometimes people fail, sometimes they held. The flames grew larger. The man in the car was running out of time, and Jamal Williams made a choice that would change everything. He ran toward the fire. Jamal had never saved a life before, but somehow he knew exactly what to do. The heat hit him first. Waves of burning air that made his eyes water and his lungs seize up. The BMW was on its side, flames climbing higher every second. The driver's door faced the sky, impossible to reach. Jamal dropped to his knees and crawled to the passenger side. The window had shattered completely. Glass covered the wet asphalt like deadly confetti. Through the opening, he could see the man hanging upside down, blood dripping from his forehead onto the car's ceiling. "Sir, can you hear me?" The man's eyes snapped to Jamal's voice. Yes, I'm trapped. The seatbelt and the fire. Don't move. I'm coming in." Jamal pulled off his thin jacket and wrapped it around his hands. The metal around the window frame was already hot to the touch. He squeezed through the opening, feeling broken glass bite through his jacket into his arms. Inside the car, the world was upside down and on fire. The smell of gasoline burned his nostrils. Smoke filled the interior, making it hard to see. The man was suspended by his seatbelt, his face turning red from the blood rushing to his head. "What's your name?" Jamal asked, pulling the utility knife from the man's own glove compartment. William Thompson. "I'm Jamal. We're going to get you out, Mr. Thompson." The seatbelt was jammed tight from the impact. Jamal sawed at the thick fabric with the utility knife, his hands shaking from adrenaline. Sweat dripped into his eyes. The flames were getting closer. "How old are you, son?" William asked. His voice was weak but steady. 17. Jamal kept cutting. The knife was dull, the seatbelt thick. Almost 18. 17. William coughed from the smoke. "When I was 17, I thought I was invincible." "You still might be." The seatbelt was fraying, almost through. "Just hold on." The fabric snapped. William collapsed onto the car's ceiling with a grunt of pain, but he was free from the belt. Now came the hard part. His legs were pinned under the collapsed dashboard. The steering wheel had been pushed down, trapping him from the waist down. Jamal could see the problem immediately. This was basic physics. Leverage, force, angle. "Mr. Thompson, I need you to help me. When I say 3, you push up with your arms while I pull. The steering wheel is our fulcrum. Son, if this car explodes, it won't." Jamal positioned himself at William's shoulders. "We got this." He grabbed the steering wheel with both hands, using every physics lesson Mr. Rodriguez had ever taught him. If he could shift the wheel just 2 inches, create just enough space. 1. The flames reached the front seats. 2. Jamal could feel the heat burning his back through his thin shirt. 3. William pushed with everything he had. Jamal pulled, using the steering wheel as a lever, redirecting the force upward instead of down. Physics, math, the same principles that built bridges and skyscrapers. The dashboard shifted 6 inches. William's legs came free. "Now we move," Jamal said. He grabbed William under the arms and dragged him toward the shattered window. William tried to help, pushing with his hands, but his legs weren't working properly. Dead weight. The heat was unbearable now. Jamal's hands were burning where they touched the hot metal. His lungs felt like they were on fire from the smoke. 10 feet to the window, 5 feet, 3 feet. Jamal pushed William through the opening first, then squeezed out behind him. They rolled away from the burning car and collapsed on the wet pavement, gasping for air. Rain had never felt so good. 15 seconds later, the BMW's gas tank exploded. The fireball lit up the entire overpass like daylight. Heat washed over them in a wave that singed their eyebrows. Pieces of burning metal rained down around them. Jamal felt William's hand grab his arm. "Thank you," the man whispered. "Thank you." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. The first paramedic reached them 30 seconds after the explosion. A young woman with kind eyes and steady hands. "What's your name, honey?" she asked Jamal as she checked his pulse. "Jamal Williams." "Well, Jamal Williams, you just saved a life tonight." She examined his hands, second-degree burns on his palms where he'd grabbed the hot metal, cuts on his arms from the broken glass, smoke inhalation that left him coughing every few breaths. "We need to get you both to the hospital," she said. William was on a stretcher now, an oxygen mask over his face, but his eyes were alert, focused on Jamal. He pulled the mask aside as they loaded him into the ambulance. "How can I ever repay you?" he asked. Jamal looked at this man he'd just risked his life for. Expensive suit, even torn and bloody, leather shoes that probably cost more than Jamal made in a month. A gold watch that caught the light from the ambulance. Someone with money, someone with options, someone whose problems could be solved with a checkbook. Nothing like Jamal's family, but right now, at this moment, none of that mattered. William Thompson was just a person who needed help, and Jamal Williams was the person who'd helped him. "You don't need to repay me anything, sir," Jamal said. "I just did what anyone would do." But even as he said it, Jamal knew it wasn't true. Anyone would call 911. Anyone would hope for the best. Not everyone would run into a burning car to save a stranger. As the ambulance doors closed, Jamal caught a glimpse of his reflection in the window. His face was streaked with soot and blood. His clothes were torn and soaked. His hands were wrapped in bandages. He looked like someone who'd been through hell, but his eyes were bright. For the first time in months, Jamal Williams felt something other than worry about money and medicine and impossible mathematics. He felt proud. Rosa always said the universe kept score. Maybe she was right. Maybe good things really did come to people who did good things. Maybe tonight had changed more than just William Thompson's life. Maybe it had changed him, too. What William offered next would have solved all of Jamal's problems, if only he'd accepted it. But first, Jamal had to deal with the price of being a hero. Cleveland General's emergency room smelled like disinfectant and desperation. Jamal sat on the edge of a hospital bed, watching a nurse carefully bandage his burned hands. "Second-degree burns on both palms," Dr. Martinez explained. "You'll need daily dressing changes for at least a week. No heavy lifting, no getting the bandages wet." A week. Jamal's stomach dropped. No dishwashing at Romano's. No grocery bagging. No handyman work around the neighborhood. No income when his family needed every dollar. "Doctor, I have to work," Jamal said quietly. "My grandmother." "Son, these burns are serious. If you work with your hands wet all day, you'll get infected. Then you'll be out a lot longer than a week." In the bed next to him, William Thompson was getting stitches in his forehead. The CT scan had come back clear. No brain injury, just a concussion. "Lucky to be alive," the doctors said. When they were both cleared for discharge, William approached Jamal's bed. He moved carefully, favoring his left side where his ribs were bruised. "How are the hands?" William asked. "They'll heal." Jamal flexed his fingers inside the white bandages. Everything hurt. William reached for his wallet. Hermes leather with gold initials WT embossed on the front. He counted out 5 $100 bills with the practiced ease of someone who always carried cash. Please, William said, holding out the money. This is the least I can do. I know you're hurt because of me. $500, more than Jamal made in 3 weeks of dishwashing. Enough for Rosa's insulin prescription and their overdue electric bill. Enough to breathe for a month. I can't take your money, sir. The words came out automatically. Rosa had raised him never to take charity. We earn what we get, she always said. We don't take handouts. This isn't charity, William insisted. You saved my life. You risked everything for a complete stranger. I just did what anyone would do. William studied him with sharp blue eyes. Not everyone would risk their life pulling a stranger from a burning car, son. I've lived long enough to know the difference between good people and great people. But Jamal couldn't take the money. Not when Rosa was sitting at home, probably watching the clock, wondering why he was late with her medication. Not when she'd raised him to believe that integrity mattered more than easy solutions. My grandmother always said, if you do right by people, it comes back to you somehow, Jamal said, tucking his bandaged hands into his jacket pockets. William's expression shifted. Surprise, then something deeper. Respect. Your grandmother sounds like a wise woman. William put the money away and pulled out a business card instead. At least let me give you my contact information. The card was an elegant black cardstock with minimal text. William Thompson, Chief Executive Officer, and a phone number. No company name, but there was a logo, a stylized T that seemed familiar somehow. Jamal pocketed the card. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. As they walked toward the hospital exit, William stepped aside to make a phone call. Jamal couldn't help overhearing fragments of the conversation. Yes, I'm fine. The boy who saved me, Jamal Williams. I want you to look into something for me. A black SUV pulled up to the hospital entrance. The driver, wearing a crisp suit, got out and opened the passenger door. Mr. Thompson, the driver said with notable deference. Jamal noticed the license plate as William got in. Thompson 1. There was a small company logo on the side of the SUV, the same stylized T from the business card. William rolled down the window. Jamal, take care of those hands. And call me if you need anything. Anything at all. The SUV disappeared into the rainy Cleveland night. Walking to the bus stop, Jamal felt the weight of missed opportunities. His bandaged hands throbbed with every heartbeat. A week without work meant a week without money they desperately needed. He called Chef Marco from the payphone. Jamal, thank God you're okay. I heard about the accident on the news. Chef, I can't work for a week. The doctor said, don't worry about it, kid. Your job will be here when you're ready. But Marco couldn't pay him for days he didn't work. Nobody could. By the time Jamal got home at 2 a.m., Rosa was asleep in her chair, her glucose meter on the side table showing numbers that were too high. He'd missed giving her the evening medication. Again. Sitting in their dark apartment, Jamal stared at William Thompson's business card, a phone number that could solve all their problems with one call, but Rosa had taught him better than that. Some things were more important than money. Some things were worth more than easy answers, even if those things couldn't buy insulin. The next morning brought surprises Jamal never could have imagined, and problems he definitely hadn't expected. Jamal woke up feeling like he'd been hit by a truck. His bandaged hands throbbed, his throat burned from smoke inhalation, and every muscle in his body ached. But Rosa's blood sugar was dangerously high again. They were completely out of insulin. Baby, we'll figure something out, Rosa whispered from her chair, but Jamal could see the fear in her eyes. Her hands were shaking. Her skin looked pale and clammy. They had maybe 6 hours before she'd need to go to the emergency room. Walking to school, Jamal stopped at the newsstand like he did every morning. Today's headline made him freeze. Local teen hero saves prominent businessman in fiery highway crash. There was a grainy photo of the burning BMW, taken from someone's phone. The article mentioned the rescued man was a major figure in Ohio's economic development, but didn't name him due to privacy concerns. A major figure? William Thompson hadn't seemed that important. Rich, sure, but a major figure? At school, things got stranger. Mrs. Patterson called him to the guidance office during the second period. Jamal, I received an interesting phone call this morning. Someone asking about your academic record, your career aspirations. Who was it? They wouldn't give their name. Very professional, though. Asked about your grades, your college plans, your character references. She studied him carefully. Is there something you want to tell me? Before Jamal could answer, Mr. Rodriguez stopped him in the hallway. There's a special scholarship opportunity that just became available. Engineering students only. The application deadline is today. How much? Full ride. 4 years, all expenses paid. Jamal's heart jumped. What's the catch? No catch. Someone specifically requested information about students with your profile. Mr. Rodriguez handed him a packet of papers. Strong academics, demonstrated leadership, and financial need. By lunch, Jamal felt dizzy and weak. The school nurse checked him over, concerned about his smoke inhalation symptoms. You should be home resting, not at school, she said. These symptoms can get worse before they get better. But he couldn't miss his calculus test, and he definitely couldn't miss work, except his bandaged hands meant he couldn't work anyway. Walking home, Jamal noticed unusual activity in his neighborhood. A surveyor team was measuring the empty lots near the old factory. A well-dressed woman was taking photos of the community center. News vans were parked on his street. Mrs. Rodriguez from the corner store flagged him down. Jamal, a fancy businessman came by asking about you. I wanted to know about your character, your work ethic. What did he look like? Expensive suit, nice car. Asked if you were the kind of person who could be trusted with important responsibilities. At home, Rosa was worse. Her blood sugar meter showed numbers in the danger zone. They needed insulin today, not tomorrow. Jamal pulled out William Thompson's business card and called the number. It went straight to voicemail. You've reached Thompson Industries. Our offices are currently closed for executive meetings. Thompson Industries? He'd never heard of them. But that logo on the business card, that stylized T, where had he seen it before? By day 3, when Jamal's grandmother collapsed, he thought saving William Thompson was the biggest mistake of his life. It was Wednesday morning. Rosa hadn't had insulin for 72 hours. Jamal found her on the kitchen floor, conscious but unable to get up. Her skin was cold and clammy. Her breathing was shallow and rapid. Grandma! He knelt beside her, checking her pulse the way the paramedics had shown him. Too fast, too weak. I'm okay, baby, she whispered. But they both knew she wasn't. He helped her to the couch and checked her blood sugar. The meter displayed a number that made his stomach drop, 387. Normal was under 140. She was dying. Jamal counted their money again. $127 plus $23 he'd found in coat pockets. Still $190 short for the insulin prescription. He'd called William Thompson's number 15 times over 3 days. Always the same voicemail. Thompson Industries offices are currently closed. The local news kept calling him a hero. The newspaper wanted interviews, but heroes didn't watch their grandmothers die because they couldn't afford medicine. Maybe he should have just called 911 and kept walking that night. Maybe Rosa would be better off if he'd minded his own business. Sitting in their dark apartment, watching Rosa struggle to breathe, Jamal felt completely defeated. He stared at William Thompson's business card, the elegant black cardstock now wrinkled from handling. A stranger's phone number, his only connection to the man whose life he'd saved, and that stranger had disappeared. At 2 p.m., Jamal swallowed his pride and walked back to the pharmacy. Sarah, the tech who'd known them for years, gave him a look of pure sympathy. Honey, I wish I could help, but corporate policy, please. The word came out broken. She's dying. Sarah glanced around the empty pharmacy, then leaned across the counter. The best I can do is call your doctor, see if there's a payment plan or a generic alternative. But they'd tried everything. Dr. Martinez had already prescribed the cheapest insulin available. Jamal turned to leave, feeling like the biggest failure in Cleveland. His phone rang. Unknown number. Is this Jamal Williams? Yes, ma'am. Yes. Please hold for Mr. Thompson. Jamal's heart jumped. Finally, Jamal. Williams' voice sounded tired but urgent. I'm so sorry I haven't called. I've been in emergency board meetings for 3 days straight. I heard about your grandmother from my investigator. Your what? I'll explain everything. Can you meet me in 1 hour? And Jamal, bring your grandmother. I'm sending a car. The car was actually an ambulance. A private medical transport pulled up to their apartment building, complete with a doctor and portable medical equipment. While Dr. Sarah Lane examined Rosa and administered emergency insulin, William sat with Jamal in their tiny living room. "First, how is she?" William asked. "Better now, thanks to your doctor. But Mr. Thompson, I need to ask, who are you really?" William smiled sadly. "That's what I came to tell you." He pulled out a tablet and showed Jamal a news website. The headline read, "Thompson Industries CEO survives fiery crash." Below it was a photo of William in a business suit, standing in front of a massive manufacturing facility. "I'm William Thompson, CEO and founder of Thompson Industries." Jamal stared at the screen. "I don't know what that is." "We're the largest automotive manufacturer in Ohio. Electric vehicles, $12 billion in annual revenue, 50,000 employees worldwide." The numbers didn't make sense. 12 billion? 50,000 people? "My net worth is about $3.2 billion, Jamal." 3 billion. Jamal had never heard numbers that big applied to one person. William scrolled through more articles. Photos of Thompson Industries factories across the Midwest. Awards for innovation in electric vehicle technology. William speaks at economic development conferences. "For the past year, I've been personally scouting locations for our largest expansion ever. An $800 million manufacturing plant that will employ 5,000 people directly and create 15,000 indirect jobs." He pulled up a map on his tablet. East Cleveland was highlighted in red. "3 days ago, I was driving through your neighborhood doing final site surveys. This area, your neighborhood, is my top choice for the new facility." Jamal's head was spinning. "You mean you weren't just randomly driving through when the accident happened?" "No. I was here because I've been studying this community for months. The available land, the workforce, the infrastructure, everything pointed to East Cleveland as the perfect location." William showed him architectural renderings, massive buildings, parking lots full of cars, thousands of people in hard hats and business suits. "But what you did for me 3 nights ago changed everything." "What do you mean?" "I don't just build factories, Jamal. I build communities. Every Thompson Industries plant comes with training centers, education partnerships, and local hiring commitments. But I only invest where I find people worth investing in." William's eyes were intense now. 20 years ago, I grew up poor in Detroit. When the auto industry collapsed, my neighborhood died because no one cared about the people, just the profits. I swore I'd do business differently." The pieces were starting to fit together. The surveyor teams, the woman taking photos. The businessman asked about Jamal's character. "The past 3 days, I've had my team researching everything about this community. Your teachers, your neighbors, local business owners. Do you know what they all said about you?" Jamal shook his head. "Mrs. Patterson told us you tutor struggling students for free. Chef Marco said you're the most reliable employee he's ever had. Your neighbors described how you fix their appliances without charge. Your calculus teacher called you brilliant but humble." In the bedroom, Dr. Lane was finishing Rosa's examination. Through the doorway, Jamal could see his grandmother sitting up, color returning to her cheeks. "I wasn't looking for someone to save my life, Jamal. I was looking for someone who represents what this community could become. You didn't just pull me from a burning car. You showed me I was right to believe in this place." William stood up and extended his hand. "Now I want to talk to you about something that will change not just your life, but this entire neighborhood's future." What William offered wasn't just life-changing for Jamal, it was neighborhood-changing for everyone. 2 hours later, they sat in William's office on the 42nd floor of Cleveland's tallest building. Rosa was with them, feeling stronger after proper medical care, sipping tea and marveling at the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the entire city. "First, Jamal, I owe you an apology," William said. "I should have contacted you immediately, but I wanted to make sure I could offer you something meaningful, not just money. These 3 days weren't silence, they were preparation." He pulled out a thick folder marked Confidential East Cleveland Project. "I've spent 72 hours learning everything about you and this community. Academic records from every teacher, character references from employers and neighbors, economic impact studies for the area." William opened the folder to reveal detailed reports. Jamal saw his own name on several documents. "Do you know what everyone said about you? Chef Marco called you the most honest employee he's ever had. Mrs. Patterson said you tutor failing students every lunch period. Your neighbor, Mr. Jackson, said you fixed every broken appliance on your block for free." Rosa smiled from her chair. That's my grandson. Mrs. Williams, you raised an exceptional young man. I've built my career on a simple principle. Invest in character, and character builds everything else. Communities, businesses, futures. Jamal has exactly the character I build around. William turned to a new section of the folder. Financial projections, architectural renderings, employment statistics. Here's what I'm prepared to offer. He slid the first document across the desk. Personal support, immediate and long-term. Jamal read the bullet points. Asterisk full medical coverage for Rosa Williams, including premium diabetes management and immediate specialist care, asterisk. $5,000 immediately for family needs. Rent, utilities restoration, asterisk full scholarship to MIT for mechanical engineering. All expenses paid plus $2,000 monthly stipend, asterisk. Guaranteed summer internships at Thompson Industries Engineering Division, asterisk. Guaranteed career position after graduation. Starting salary, $95,000. Jamal's hands shook as he read. Rosa leaned over to see, her eyes widening.
This solves everything,
she whispered. That's just the beginning, William said. He pulled out architectural renderings that covered the entire desk. Jamal, I want to show you what we're building. The drawings showed a massive complex spanning 15 city blocks. Modern buildings, green spaces, parking structures that could hold thousands of cars. The East Cleveland Thompson Industries Complex, $800 million in investment, the largest electric vehicle manufacturing plant in the Midwest. William pointed to different sections of the rendering. 5,000 direct jobs, starting wage $22 per hour with full benefits. 15,000 indirect jobs in supporting businesses. This will transform the entire regional economy. But it wasn't just a factory. The plans showed a complete community development. Thompson Technical Institute, free automotive technology training for local residents. Community health center with sliding scale fees. Small business incubator with microloans for local entrepreneurs. And here's what makes this different from any other manufacturing project. William pulled out a separate folder. I want you to help design this entire project, not just as a future employee, but as a community advocate. What do you mean? Community development consultant. Your job would be ensuring local residents get first priority for jobs, helping create training programs that match neighborhood skills, identifying existing businesses that can supply the plant, creating pipelines from local schools to careers. The timeline was ambitious. Phase 1, 6 months. Site preparation, community meetings, early hiring begins Phase 2, 18 months. Construction starts. Training programs launch Phase 3, 36 months. Plant opens. Full employment reached. You'd start part-time during college, full-time after graduation. This isn't just about building cars, Jamal. It's about building a community that works for everyone. Jamal studied the plans carefully. The numbers were staggering. But he'd learned to ask the right questions. What about people who live here now? Will they be pushed out by higher rents? Will local businesses survive when everything changes? William's face lit up. This is exactly why I need you involved. Those are the right questions. He showed Jamal additional documents. Rent stabilization fund to protect current residents. Local business partnership program with guaranteed contracts worth $12 million annually. Community ownership stake residents share in plant profits through a neighborhood investment fund. Environmental protections that exceed federal standards by 40%. Rosa had been quietly listening. Now she spoke up. Mr. Thompson, my grandson has always believed in doing right by people, but can you promise this will be right by our people? Mrs. Williams, I'm not just investing money here. I'm investing in my reputation, my company's future, and my personal commitment. If this doesn't work for your community, it doesn't work for me. William leaned forward. I've seen too many developments that displace the very people they were supposed to help. That's not what this is. This is community building, not community replacement. He showed them financial projections. Local unemployment dropped from 23% to 8%. Median household income increased by 40%. 47 new businesses expected to open within 6 blocks of the plant. The math works because we're not just dropping a factory into your neighborhood. We're growing an economy from the people who already live here. Jamal looked at Rosa, then back at William. If we do this, we do it right. These are good people who just need a fair chance. That's exactly why I need you, Jamal. I can bring capital and expertise, but you understand this community's heart. William stood and extended his hand. So what do you say? Will you help me prove that the best way to build a business is to build a community first? Jamal looked at the papers spread across the desk. College education, guaranteed career, Rosa's medical care, 5,000 jobs for his neighbors. 3 days ago, he couldn't afford insulin for his grandmother. Now he was being offered the chance to transform his entire neighborhood. Deal, Jamal said, shaking William's hand. Then let's get to work. 6 months later, the transformation was visible everywhere, but the real changes were in the people. Jamal started at MIT in January, studying mechanical engineering with a community development minor. Every weekend, he took the bus home to watch his neighborhood come alive. Rosa's transformation was the most dramatic. With proper medical care and regular insulin, she'd gained weight and started walking again. Now she works as a community health advocate, helping elderly residents navigate their new healthcare options. I haven't felt this good in 10 years, she told Jamal over Sunday dinner in their new apartment. Same neighborhood, but now with working electricity and heat. The changes started small but grew fast. Month 1, Thompson Industries opened a community office in Mrs. Rodriguez's old storefront. The first planning meeting drew 200 residents asking hard questions. How do we know you won't push us out? William attended every meeting personally, bringing lawyers and architects who answered with specific numbers and legal guarantees. Month 2, groundbreaking ceremony drew 2,000 people and news crews. 60% of construction jobs went to local residents. Chef Marco's nephew became a site supervisor. 12 local contractors received $4 million in subcontracts. Month 3, Thompson Technical Institute opened at the old community center. 300 residents enrolled for free, learning automotive technology and computer programming. Students got paid $20 an hour to attend. Month 4, ripple effects spread beyond construction. Mrs. Rodriguez expanded her corner store into a full grocery, hiring 8 employees. A new credit union opened for plant workers. 3 food trucks started regular stops. Local unemployment dropped from 23% to 15% before the plant even opened. Month 5, national attention arrived. 60 Minutes featured The Cleveland Miracle, how one teen's heroism sparked economic revival. Harvard Business School requested a case study. The governor announced similar programs for 3 other cities. But Jamal stayed focused on neighborhood details. When construction noise bothered elderly residents, he adjusted contractor schedules. When businesses worried about parking, he helped design solutions. Month 6 milestones. Asterisk unemployment down to 8%. Asterisk 150 construction jobs for local residents. Asterisk $12 million in local business contracts. Asterisk health center serving 3,000 patients. Asterisk 0 families displaced. Challenges were real but manageable. Initial gentrification skepticism required constant meetings and transparency. City bureaucracy created permit delays. Construction noise disrupted daily life, but the community adapted because they were part of the solution. Personal success stories. Mr. Jackson, who used to ask Jamal to fix appliances, now ran a repair business with 5 employees. 2 of Jamal's former tutoring students received engineering scholarships. Mrs. Patterson started a college counseling program that got 40 students into universities. The numbers told the transformation story. Property values rose 25%, but rent stabilization kept longtime residents secure. Crime decreased 28% as jobs increased. Bank loan applications rose 300% with better approval rates. Environmental improvements exceeded expectations. Community solar programs provided discounted electricity to 800 households. Urban farming converted 12 vacant lots into gardens. Electric vehicle charging stations promoted clean transportation throughout the neighborhood. Media attention brought unexpected benefits. 3 other manufacturers announced plans to locate nearby. Cleveland City Council approved $50 million in infrastructure improvements. International delegations visited to study the community-centered development model. The success attracted investment beyond Thompson Industries. Local businesses saw increased foot traffic. Property improvements spread block by block. Young families started moving back to the neighborhood their grandparents had fled decades earlier. But for Jamal, the best changes were personal. Rosa's diabetes was controlled. Their electricity stayed on. He excelled at MIT while gaining real-world experience no textbook could teach. Every weekend, when he came home and saw cranes building the future where empty lots used to be, Jamal Williams knew that sometimes saving one person really could save an entire community. The plant would open in 18 months. 5,000 jobs were coming. 15,000 more would follow. But the transformation had already begun in the hearts and hopes of people who finally believed their neighborhood was worth investing in. 2 years later, Jamal found himself in an eerily familiar situation. It was October evening. Jamal, now a junior at MIT, was driving through Cleveland in his modest electric car when he saw smoke rising from the same overpass where he'd saved William. Not a car accident this time. A food truck had caught fire after an electrical malfunction. Jamal pulled over immediately. A young Latina girl, maybe 16, was helping an elderly black man away from the burning truck while other drivers called 911. She moved with purpose, checking him for injuries, keeping him calm. "Are you okay, sir?" Jamal called out. "I think so," the elderly man replied. "This is Sophia. She got me out when the wires started sparking." Sophia looked up with determined eyes. "I was walking by and saw him trying to put it out himself." Jamal smiled. He recognized that look, the same determination he'd felt when he ran toward William's burning car. "You did the right thing. Most people would have just called 911 and kept walking." After firefighters arrived and confirmed everyone was safe, Jamal learned more. Sophia Morales was a high school senior working part-time to help her family. The elderly man, Mr. Washington, owned the food truck, their only source of income. "I want to be an electrical engineer," Sophia said, watching firefighters work. "But college is expensive." Jamal pulled out his business card. 2 years ago, he didn't have business cards. Now, community development consultant, Thompson Industries. "There are scholarship opportunities through our community program. We're always looking for students interested in electrical engineering." Sophia studied the card. "Thompson Industries? The company that built the plant in East Cleveland?" "Right. And Sophia, sometimes helping one person opens doors you never expected. 2 years ago, I thought I was just helping a stranger. When you save someone, you save a whole chain of people you haven't met yet." The scene shifted to the grand opening of the completed Thompson Industries plant. 2,000 employees starting their first shifts. Children played in the new community park. Jamal and William stood on the factory floor watching electric vehicles roll off the production line. Rosa, healthier than she'd been in years, joined them with Sophia, who'd just received her acceptance letter to study electrical engineering. 2 years ago, I thought I was building a factory," William said, watching families tour the facility. "Now I see we built something more important." "What's that?" Jamal asked. "Hope. We built hope that lasts beyond any building or business." Rosa smiled, watching Sophia explain electrical systems to younger students. "My grandson always said one good deed creates ripples. Now I see he was wrong about one thing." "What's that, Grandma?" "It doesn't create ripples, baby. It creates waves." And that's how a 17-year-old dishwasher became a community builder, how a burning car became a burning passion for change, and how one stormy night proved that courage isn't just about the moment, it's about the movement that follows. Jamal's story proves that heroism isn't just about saving one life. It's about the lives that life will go on to touch. Every act of courage creates possibilities we can't imagine. Every moment of kindness becomes a wave that lifts entire communities. Rosa was right. Good deeds don't just create ripples, they create waves. If this story inspired you, imagine what your story could inspire. Share this video with someone who needs to remember that their actions matter, that their courage counts, that their kindness can change the world. And tell us in the comments, what's one act of bravery you witnessed that changed everything? Your story might be exactly what someone needs to hear today. Subscribe to Blacktail Stories for more stories about everyday heroes who prove that the best way to change your life is to change someone else's first.